Come on, Annie. Let's go to the movies.
This is the Cinereelists, episode 551. My name is Kyle.
My name is James.
And my name is Zach.
And we're here to talk about movies, movie lists, and movie obsession for the next hour or so. I also want to say it's good to see you guys.
Thanks.
It's nice to be seen.
Oh, yeah. a little inside baseball for the listeners. Last week, it was supposed to be just you two recording.
Right.
And you were going to do Confess Fletch. But a little hurricane kind of disrupted that.
A little hurricane.
Yeah.
Sure. Like maybe the biggest one that's ever hit Florida, basically.
So
by
you guys,
by mileage.
yes.
I don't know
Oh,
about
yeah.
damage,
Quite
but
big enough that it passed through Florida, went into the Atlantic, and then slammed back into the U.S. one more time because it wanted to. Wasn't done with us yet. So you guys were inland, but still had a significant amount of water from pictures you sent me. How are you guys doing now, a week later?
Dry. The only permanent damage is a little bit of water damage on one of my walls on the inside. It started like bubbling. And so I've got a fan on it trying to decide if I need to like rip it open or not.
I mean, the answer is probably yes.
Yeah. But I'm thinking if I just ignore it.
and paint over it, then maybe it'll be okay.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that if you don't think about mold, it does not grow. That's how it works.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we're moving into the winter months. Doesn't mold die in winter?
I mean, mold needs a temperature and humidity. Do you guys get below freezing with low humidity in Florida?
I don't know if it's a below freezing thing.
Okay.
I don't know.
I mean,
I'm not a mold expert by any stretch of the imagination.
The mold may slow down its growth rates, but then come spring, it's going to come back.
Yeah, that's true. I got my car back in one piece yesterday because the parking lot at my condo flooded. And so pretty much all the cars in the condo parking lot, like 100 cars or so, all underwater. And luckily, the parking lot like slants down towards the middle because that's where the drain is. And so if you parked like a normal person, like nose in, then your engine was outside of the floodwaters. But if you back in parked, your engine was deep in the floodwater. And so the people that back in parked have bigger issues than the people who normally parked, because people who parked normally just had a puddle in their car, but the engine wasn't bothered. And the other people had a puddle and engine issues. So I got lucky in that respect. Go ahead.
Can you explain to me why would someone back in park? Like what is the benefit of doing that?
Guys, have I ranted to you about back in parkers yet?
No.
Okay, we'll need to save that for another time.
Let's hear what Kyle thinks the benefit is.
No, I just want to know.
I guarantee he has stronger feelings about this than I do.
For sure, I have strong feelings about back in parkers.
Let's hear it, Kyle. What's the problem with back in parking?
Well, my understanding is people who back in is it's so they can be in the go mode, as in it's when they get in their car, they can just pull out.
Right.
I don't understand. I know some people back in because it's harder to back their car out of a parking lot, but I personally find it's harder to back into a parking lot than to back out of a parking lot. What really bothers me about back in parkers is you're like in a parking lot and there's traffic coming from both sides, and they like, instead of just pulling into a parking space, they have to pull across the lane, stop everyone who's moving, then back in their car. If they're bad at it, they have to back out, back in, and it just like slows up the entire flow of parking lot traffic in general because this person needs to back their car in. We have a lot of big trucks in the Midwest. You might have probably big trucks in Florida too. So you got like,
no, we don't have any big trucks here.
Like, you don't have like big pickup trucks or anything? You must.
I think I've seen one big truck once, maybe.
I think you guys are being facetious right
on
now.
like a early April morning.
A crisp spring before the mold season has started.
Yep.
So yeah, I definitely see a lot of pickup trucks that do the back end maneuver.
Maybe it's
does
just...
it really?
Go ahead.
Does it really slow down the parking flow more than people pulling out backwards? I mean, isn't it the exact same like movement whether you do it before or after you park?
I guess maybe it's a perception thing. Like, yeah, I expect if someone's pulling out, okay, you've parked in the parking spot, you're going to pull out now. But then when someone's parking and they start swerving across, I think they're going to park, then they're going to stop, then they're going to back up in. And it's just like, oh, we're adding a couple seconds to this whole situation here. I see.
Right.
So
I think
you can be in the go position.
if you want like a change in perspective, the next time you're
I don't
looking
want
for
to
a
change my
spot,
perspective. You know this.
the next time you're looking for a spot and somebody who back in parked pulls out of their spot quickly, and then you save time by pulling in because you didn't have to watch them back out, you should say, thank the maker for back in parkers.
I want you to mutter that out loud.
Thank the maker for you back. I'm going to make a little card to give them. I'm going to get out of my car, stop
Thank
them,
you.
hand them this card. Thank you
Right.
for making this process faster.
There you go. Yep.
Anyway, James, you can give your little 2 cents on back in parkers.
Oh, I don't have really an opinion other than don't do it if a hurricane's coming.
Yeah.
This is unrelated, but I guess I'll use this as my check-in time. So the episode that aired last week, Kyle and I recorded like a month ago, and then we banked it for a rainy day. No pun intended.
Literally.
And so in that episode, Kyle, you might forget, but I challenged you to a week of liking things on the internet because you said you don't like things on the internet. Like you literally won't click the like button. And then I said, take a week and just pretend like it doesn't matter. Like you can just like things and literally nothing matters. You know what I mean? Just go nuts. So my question is, it's been a month. Did you ever do that? Did you let the likes fly?
No, I just couldn't bring myself to do it. It just seemed out of character for me.
It is. That's the point of doing it. You said that you didn't want to inflate other people's egos. And I said, you're not inflating the ego of somebody who never gets likes by giving them one like.
I also think that if you actively like things on the internet will provide you with things more tailored to what you like.
Oh, you mean the algorithms will catch up.
Oh, yeah.
To you.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's like training the algorithm.
Then maybe people need to post things I like better. Maybe I'm following the wrong people. I challenge everyone who I follow to post better contents for me to like.
All right. So you never did the experiment. I get it.
No, I thought it's not
I
that I
still think
forgot.
you should do it.
I thought about it.
All right.
In the back of my mind, I was like, James wants me to like this right now.
You
Like,
refuse.
I can't. I just can't do it.
Yeah, Zach, I don't know if you've listened to that episode, but I told Kyle I used to be the same way. I was like, I'm only going to like things unless I genuinely like it. You know what I mean? Like I put so much importance on the idea of clicking the heart button on Twitter that eventually I was like, what does it matter? Like everybody is liking everything if they even remotely like it. So why not join in on the party? And I realized the party's pretty fun. You know what I mean? It's more fun when you're just like, oh, that was funny. Like, it doesn't have to be the funniest thing I've ever seen that I'm going to save for later because I'm never going to look at it again. But, like more things, people.
I feel like the algorithm knows what I look at anyway. Like it knows if I stop on a post versus swiping past it. So what's the like gonna even do?
Forget the algorithm part. It's just the difference between being an observer when you're online and a participant. It changes the vibe of the thing that you're ingesting personally.
It's true.
I mean, maybe you don't want to be a participant, but it's really the smallest bit you can do to be like, oh, I like that. Give me more. Even if it's the person getting the signal that you want more than an algorithm. But any opinion on this, Zach? Are you stingy with your likes?
Oh no, Team James on this, 100%. Spread the love.
It literally costs nothing. Literally nothing. It's like the easiest thing ever to do.
Just throw those likes out like there's no abandon.
Speaking of which, if you're watching this on YouTube, like it.
Speaking of which, Zach, Mr. I Like Everything, did not like a picture of my son on his 7th birthday.
Maybe he didn't see it.
Yeah, maybe I
Did
didn't
you see it? Where was it? Facebook? I guarantee I didn't see it.
What
If it's
photo
on
was
Facebook.
this?
It was him blowing out a candle on his 7th birthday.
I liked it on Instagram, so
You did not like it on Instagram.
well, then I liked it on Facebook. I liked it on one of those things.
You did not like it on Facebook.
Maybe he didn't
no.
like it.
I did specifically like that cake. I thought, oh, this is a fun cake.
Tell me about the cake.
Maybe I liked
so much.
It was shaped in the number 7.
Uh-huh.
It was chocolate.
Uh-huh.
And it was in a dark room. I maybe I liked it with one of my burner accounts. Did Soccer Mom 85 like it?
No, Scotty did though. So shout out to listener Scotty for liking the photo of my photo. Yeah,
that's me.
That's not you.
I didn't like
listener
it.
Justin
Nor did
Eddy
I see
also
it.
liked it. So shout out to Justin Eddy. Thank you for
that. Yeah,
liking
that's another one of my
son.
burner accounts.
Yeah. So I don't know. Until Zach starts liking my photos, I'm not liking anything.
That's a great way to go through life. All right.
If it was a picture of him in a beanbag chair, I would have liked it.
Was that a check-in, Kyle?
No, I have an actual check-in.
You have an actual check-in. All right.
Yes.
Give us a check-in.
All right. So this has to do with my son and his 7th birthday.
Okay.
There's movies he wants to watch that I say, no, you cannot watch these yet. You are too young.
Mm-hmm.
RoboCop and Terminator being the two ones that I have to constantly remind him, you cannot watch those yet. But I did watch with him one of the movies he wanted to watch for this weekend for his 7th birthday, and that was Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it was a first-time watch for him.
A first-time watch for him, yes. Yep.
And?
He really liked it.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was...
Do you trust that?
Trust what?
When he tells you he really likes something that
Yeah.
you know, like, he knows that you like it.
No, because there's definitely... I mean, he hasn't watched a ton of, like, all my favorite movies because a lot of my movies are not kid-appropriate. But, like, we've definitely seen movies before, and he's like, yeah, that was fine, or I didn't really care for that one. So, like, he has some taste or discerning taste of what he likes and doesn't like.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, with Raiders, he wasn't gung-ho, like, 100%. I would say towards the end, before the face-melting finale, he was a little bored. Because there's a lot of action building up to that point.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's... then it kind of slows down before you get to that cool finish. And he was like, all right, like he was feeling the length of the movie. He was like, it's getting a little long. It's a little boring right now. I'm like, just wait. Some crazy things are going to happen.
So he gives you running commentary on when he's bored while he's watching a movie?
Oh, he is talking constantly through movies. It is a constant thing. Yes.
In a theater too?
He's better in the theater because I've taught him, hey, we're in the theater, so like this is a time, even though we're usually at kid movies where it's probably more acceptable.
Sure.
But I want him to teach the etiquette early. Don't talk during movies. Leave the blanket at home. Important things. But yeah, like when we're at home, it is a constant, especially like a movie he hasn't seen before.
Sure.
And like a lot of it is like, why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? And I just want to be like, well, if you listen to the dialogue, you will find out why that's happening right now. So
this is unrelated, but when you were a kid and you watched cartoons, did you laugh out loud while you were watching it as it was playing?
No.
I probably did.
No, I mean like you turned it on and like you were laughing through the whole thing.
Like rolling on the floor laughing through the entire cartoon.
I mean, I don't know what it was about rolling on the floor, but like audibly laughing at every joke and like being hyper thrilled by it.
I mean,
anyway, the reason why I asked this,
that's a very specific like ask.
The reason why I
laughed out loud during cartoons as a kid.
I mean, I laughed occasionally when something was funny, but I went over to like a cousin's house when I was maybe a teenager, and I had younger cousins, and the younger cousins were watching like a Looney Tunes type cartoon, and they were just laughing hysterically while they watched it at like every slapsticky joke, every joke. Just like the entire thing was just like uproarious laughter. And I was just like, I have never in my life thought anybody would be tickled so much by a Looney Tunes cartoon. is it just my family that didn't experience cartoons that way? Or do other people have kids that are just like so completely engaged and thrilled by something like that? I don't know. Thoughts?
I'd say when Galen watches cartoons, there's a lot of laughing going on.
Mm-hmm. Okay. But none of it seems over the top. It seems like they're genuine.
Wait, you thought these kids were forced? Like it didn't seem genuine?
It couldn't possibly. You'd have to literally have. I can't think of a movie.
So do you think,
or any piece of media that could have?
Maybe
I don't know about
happier
faking
than
it.
you.
Just
Could it be
like expected to laugh. Maybe
is it because maybe they're watching with someone else and like it's that laughter is infectious kind of thing, and that's why they would sort of ramp up their laughter because they're laughing together.
It could be.
James, do you think that they were laughing to like appease their parents' expectations?
I don't know.
Instead of just enjoying the show?
No,
I don't know.
James thinks that maybe they were laughing for the attention. Is that what you're saying?
Maybe. Honestly, I didn't think it through that much. More, I thought it through in like, I've never seen anyone watch anything and be that humored by it.
I've watched movies where I laughed the entire time.
Yeah. I mean, I've watched movies that are very funny that I consistently laugh through, for sure. Pop Star, I laughed through that entire movie. I'm sure there were moments where I didn't, though. You know what I mean? Like there were probably jokes in there that went over my head or weren't that funny, but the laugh to no laugh ratio was extremely high. Borat, the original Borat, extremely high ratio. But not everything worked. Whereas with these kids, everything worked.
They're also children.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
I think most likely they just thought it was really funny.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, maybe I'm just suspicious of whether children actually like something or whether there's a performative aspect to it, which is maybe why I asked if Galen actually liked Indiana Jones. Because with my son, I could definitely tell when he was saying something that was expected to be said or was the nice thing to be said versus what he actually liked. Because the things that he actually liked, I could only figure out over time. Because those are the things he would go back to on his own or that he would request to watch again type of thing over time.
Mm-hmm.
But if I put something in front of him and said, this is the thing I like, I want you to experience it, guaranteed he was going to tell me he liked it. You know what I mean? Because that's what kids do.
Yeah, I think he generally liked it. I mean, we'll see if this is a movie that he wants to watch over and over again.
Sure.
Like Princess Bride is a movie that we watched with him, and he's wanted to watch it several times since.
Nice.
So that's one he generally likes.
That's a good one too, because it has scary moments, but I think if your kid is ready for them, then they can, meaning like they've been prepared that, you know, this is a movie, it's fantasy, you know, it's going to be scary, but it'll be fun scary, not like, you know, nightmare fuel scary.
No, Raiders is definitely a step up in the scary and action stages than like Princess Bride. So we're like, okay, well, he likes Princess Bride, he can handle that. Let's see how Raiders goes. Let's, you know, go with the next little step.
Yeah. The only part of Raiders that I can think of that's scary is the last scene, right? The
face melting. And I forgot one of the guys' heads explodes also. So that was a little. And he wanted to know what Nazis were. That was.
Oh, in the same the same
Nazis.
Sequence, right?
Yeah, the same sequence. Yeah, two people's head melts, one guy's head explodes. Belloq's head explodes. Yeah. So, you know, Nazis were the bad guys during World War II. That seemed to.
That got him over the hump.
Yeah, that was a good way of explaining. Yeah.
He had already heard of World War II.
Oh yeah, so my because my grandfather fought in World War II.
Okay.
So and I've told him stories about that.
I gotcha.
I mean, so then he asked, "Oh, like your grandfather fought the Nazis?" Like, no, he was in the Pacific, and then it got complicated. So he's a historian of World War II now. So
what's next? Schindler's List? Is that next on the docket?
Yeah, I mean maybe that, or
I mean if we're going with the World War II theme,
we might do Saving Private Ryan first. Just ease him into World War II a little bit.
No, if you want to have an experience, just go straight to Dunkirk.
That's like a thrill ride.
Yeah, that's a Jolly Rancher.
Can I do my check-in?
Or sure.
It's
Yes.
kind of related to both your check-ins.
Sure.
Please.
Or at least James's question and Kyle's check-in.
Okay.
We have pizza movie night every Friday night with the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was my turn to pick a movie. And so I picked Aladdin. And it was the first time my kids had seen Aladdin. And I was very excited to show it to them because that's a Disney movie that I loved as a kid. And they loved it as well. And I was excited for them to watch it. I knew that they were really going to like it. And so while they were watching, I would every now and then videotape their reaction, like just have the camera pointed at them without them realizing as they're watching things, for the first time. And it was so worth it. They had awesome reactions when things would happen. Like when Aladdin first gets the lamp and then Abu touches the ruby and then the Cave of Wonders melts down. They were like, no, hurry up, go, go, go. It was so great. And I got it all on camera and it was super fun. And then every night since they've wanted to play Aladdin.
Mm-hmm.
So they've been really into it.
Next time, could you show them the Red Wedding and videotape the reactions?
When they watch it, I will videotape the reaction.
Okay.
How about that?
Okay.
Yeah.
Like a couple, I guess you have to watch a couple of seasons before that. So maybe like a year or two.
I was going to say, I bet they'd be bored if you showed them the Red Wedding. They wouldn't understand what's going on.
I'd have to edit it to be age appropriate.
Yeah.
So.
Could you
be pretty short.
Could you please edit the Red Wedding for like a 6-year-old to watch?
Yeah, that'd be easy. Just a nice little party until everyone goes to sleep.
Nice party and everyone goes to sleep. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was fun to see them enjoy it so much.
That's great.
Nice.
Yeah. Aladdin's, that's one of those movies where we enjoyed as kids, but it holds up too. Where kids today can like it still. Doesn't feel dated. Maybe some of its depictions of culture are dated, but overall the movie.
I think it does has one of those Disney Plus warnings before it.
Yeah, so we have on Galen's Disney Plus account, I have the parental controls turned on just so he can't watch Marvel movies and things like that. And Aladdin is blocked from his access, like Aladdin, Mulan, Peter Pan, those movies he can't get on his account.
What's the issue?
Too.
What's the issue with Aladdin?
It's the depiction of Arabian culture. It's a bit stereotypical.
Yeah. It's barbaric, but hey, it's home.
Yeah.
That's like one of the first lines in the movie.
Oh,
where
yeah,
they
that's
cut
right.
off
There's
your
that one
hands
song where they
Yeah.
run through all that kind of stuff. That makes sense.
That's probably the main reason is that song right there. Yeah.
Well, there's actually a YouTube video I watched about it. It's like a half an hour long about everything that's offensive in Aladdin by like someone who's like from that part of the world.
Is it because white people voice all the characters?
Oh,
Yeah.
a ton of reasons.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, a ton of reasons.
So
one, it's like everything in there is like from such vastly different cultures, all just kind of squashed together. It's like if you had a story about the Old West and everyone had Boston accents and they're all talking on cell phones and wearing kilts. And it's like, well, this is just weird. You know what I mean? Like
3-point hats on the muskets. And
yeah.
I've never really thought about it, but then I don't really think about Arabian culture in general. So
I believe that.
Do you think people that exist in Arabian culture can watch that movie and not be offended?
I'm sure that is possible.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like I'm curious to know if like the vast majority of the populace who have seen that movie from Saudi Arabia, if they're actually offended by it, or if there's like some cultural commentators who are like, this is not a great look. And that's really where most of this comes from, as opposed to like people literally being outraged by it.
Sure.
I don't know if it's outrage or if it's more Disney saying like, hey, when we made this movie, we were wrong in these depictions.
Yeah. Plus, I think it was originally based on Baghdad. So Saudi Arabia is not even in the picture there, but yeah.
Gotcha. Cool. Anything else before we jump into this week's episode? Let's do it. Before we do it, though, I need to remind you there's a video version of this podcast on YouTube that you should like if you're watching right now. Go to YouTube.
You don't have to.
You can. You should. Go to YouTube, search Cinereelists, find us there, subscribe to the channel, watch the episodes while you listen to them. You can also support us on Patreon at patreon.com/Cinereelists. Zach, I'm only saying this because I don't want to forget. We owe somebody a mug. Please remind me.
Okay.
Support us on Patreon, patreon.com/Cinereelists. Get extra after show audio amongst other Cinerealist swag. Also, leave us an Apple Podcast review, 5 stars only. We appreciate that. Or you could send us an email to heyguys@cinereelists.com, REEL with an S on the end. Send a comment, a question, a list suggestion, a movie suggestion, any of those kinds of things. We appreciate. We're going to talk 2 movies this week. Both of them are available on video on demand. The first one is Confess, Fletch. We're going to get into it right after this clip.
Quite the collection of impressionists you have here. Pre, post, neo, all the best prefixes.
I was robbed a few years ago, so I don't keep anything of value in the building. Those are reproductions.
That's how we introduce my children.
Oh, do you sail?
I do not. Have an aversion to boat shoes. Well, shoes in general, but boat shoes in particular. I mean, is it a slipper or is it a shoe? Come on, pick a lane. Is this a model of your boat?
Well, yes, I'm embarrassed to admit that is.
Well, she's beautiful.
Thank you.
I hope to see you soon, Mr. Horan.
Indeed.
That was Confess, Fletch, directed by Greg Mottola, starring Jon Hamm, Marcia Gay Harden, Kyle MacLachlan, Roy Wood Jr., and John Slattery, amongst others. The official IMDb synopsis for Confess, Fletch is: after becoming the prime suspect in multiple murders, Fletch survives to prove his innocence while simultaneously searching for his fiance's stolen art collection. So this is a movie that I was definitely interested in as a fan of the original Fletch movie franchise, I guess. Who was in the original? I'm drawing a blank on the name of the guy.
Chevy Chase.
Chevy Chase, yes. How could I forget? So Chevy Chase was in this 2 movies that are based on a series of novels, and Fletch being the main character, a guy named Fletch, nicknamed Fletch, I believe, and he is a reporter who investigates things and is funny and kind of like is a rascal, I would say, in general. He's a joker who just kind of like floats through life and happens to put himself in weird situations. And the question is like, how's he going to get out of it type of thing. And so Chevy Chase played this character from a book in 2 movies. The first one was fairly successful for the time. I think it came out in the mid 80s. And Chevy Chase was kind of just the guy from SNL who was building a career at the time when the first one came out. I watched it when I was a kid a bunch. I thought it was very funny. I mean, not like Looney Tunes funny, but, you know, normal person funny. And the I'm really throwing shade at like my younger cousins.
Yeah.
But
For enjoying something.
and then later they did a sequel called Fletch Lives that is not as good. And I think it generally killed Chevy Chase's motivation to make more of them, because at that point he had moved on to, you know, the National Lampoon's Vacation of it all and other things that were more popular than the Fletch movies were. So fast forward here to 2022, we get a new Fletch movie. This one also based on the book series that is kind of a sequel to the original 2 because they reference things there, but they've recast Fletch with Jon Hamm playing the title role. And so that's what made me curious about it. It's just like, it's a Fletch movie. They've been trying to make another Fletch movie. By they, I mean like Hollywood has been trying to make another Fletch movie for a decade or more. They just could not seem to crack what it was going to be or who could star in it. And then I didn't even know they were making this until I saw a trailer. And then I was like, oh, they already made this. And it felt like it came out of nowhere for me. And it's here and we watched it. We did. Am I the only one that has like a background with this movie? I don't think Kyle had seen even the original, right?
I have not seen the original. My guess before seeing this movie from the poster was that Fletch was a private investigator. So I thought I was maybe into for some sort of crime comedy movie.
Mm-hmm.
Which you kind of were.
Yeah.
That's generally what they are. It's just he's a reporter.
Yeah, right. Investigative reporter instead of private investigator, but still along the same lines. Yep.
Right.
I had seen the original Fletch and I thought it was really funny. I enjoyed it quite a bit. So I was excited for this once I learned about it.
Mm-hmm. I was also curious to see Jon Hamm in a movie where he's the main guy, because since Mad Men, he's certainly been in things, but I can't put my finger on one where he's the star of the movie, like the sole star.
Wasn't he the star of that Beirut movie?
I've seen that, and I don't remember enough of it to say
Okay.
that he was the sole star.
But I'm searching at this point. If I'm trying to think of some obscure Beirut movie he made in the last 5 years.
Right. Well, it's like Jon Hamm didn't become an action star after that, or like even a George Clooney type. He just doesn't seem to have moved that way post Mad Men.
He became a cameo / supporting guy.
Right. Yeah.
Which is not a bad thing. I think people enjoy seeing him pop up in things.
Right. But
$1 Million Arm.
I haven't seen that. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Is that a baseball movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Was he good in it?
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
it's a Disney sports movie, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Was Kevin Costner busy that day or something?
Yeah.
Maybe he's done them and they're just not high profile or just not my world.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Maybe he doesn't want to do high profile movies. Like he probably financially is set after Mad Men.
That's probably true. He can probably just decide what he wants to do.
Exactly.
Doesn't really matter. But he was definitely the guy with Mad Men. And that ran for 5-6 seasons and multiple Emmys and all those types of things. So it kind of seemed natural for him to become like the guy in movies, and it never seemed to happen. And now we have this movie where he's the guy for sure. He's the movie. And I was curious to see how that panned out as well. So I guess
how'd it pan out, James?
I was pleasantly surprised at how low key they kept that movie. Like the new movie, Confess Fletch, very much feels like in line with the two movies that came before it. The problem is the two movies that came before it came out 30 years ago. And so the expectation of like how much action a movie will have, or how the pacing of like a story told in the last 30, how much stories have changed, how fast they'll give you information has changed over the last 30 years. But this was definitely told like very close to the same style and pacing of those original 80s movies. And so I liked that about it, but I could see some people watching this movie and feeling not much for it in the end. Like there weren't too many high points or anything like that. But I did enjoy the story itself. I thought maybe the thing that felt in comparison to the originals missing the most is Chevy Chase used to wear disguises and like do goofy characters throughout the movie. And there was none of that in this. Like occasionally he'd pose as somebody else, but he didn't put on a wig and teeth and like come up with an accent or anything. And that is absolutely what Chevy Chase does in the Fletch movies. So I felt like there was a little bit missing there, but I thought Jon Hamm was charming, and like the story itself, pretty run of the mill, but it was an easy watch for me from one side to the other. Not challenging at all, but enjoyable. What did you guys think about it?
So I like Jon Hamm a lot. I think he's a star. He's so good at just feeling very comfortable on screen, right? And he has a lot of fun with his characters always, I think.
Mhm.
He seems like he'd be really fun to hang out with as a person, and he kind of brought that to this character as well. I was skeptical when he was going to be Fletch because I was like, I don't know, I guess I saw it more as like a Ryan Reynolds type character, with someone who's like constantly cracking jokes and just nothing phases him whatsoever. I thought he played a good Fletch. I liked how just casual he was about everything, even things that like implicate him for murder. He's just like, well, it'll work out. This movie absolutely is episodic in the sense of like, okay, now for the next 15 minutes, I'm going to introduce you to this wacky character, and we'll spend wacky time with them for 10 minutes and then move on to the next wacky character, kind of a thing. So it's a little bit like a catalog of zany characters, and you go through the catalog, then they all show up in the same place at one time, and then you figure out what's going on, kind of a thing, which was fine. I ultimately enjoyed watching the movie, but I wouldn't say that I liked the movie a ton, It was fine. Kyle?
I did not enjoy watching this movie.
All right.
Zach, you have this look on this face of course you didn't. I like Jon Hamm. I liked Jon Hamm in this movie, and I liked Roy Wood Jr. in this movie too. I think they're both funny people. I didn't find this movie very funny at all. For me, the only moment I found that tickled me was when he was feeding the fish at the very beginning and he dumped the entire fish food in there. And that was more based on Jon Hamm's reaction of making that mistake. Like Zach said, there's a lot of wacky characters, but they're all kind of one-dimensional. Like, their quirk is their character. Like, you got Kyle MacLachlan, and he likes EDM. And that's it. And you have a neighbor, and she's kind of weird. Okay, like that's just, you get these characters, and it's like one sentence about them, and they were played with that one sentence, nothing else. And that's actually where this movie lost me. I was enjoying it for like the first half hour. It was giving me like Get Shorty or Long Goodbye vibes. Like, we kind of have a light noir crime thing going on here. Long Goodbye gets a little darker towards the end, but it starts off kind of light. And Get Shorty's definitely within that vein. And then we get to this neighbor, and it's like, she's got this dog that pees on the ground, and her house is super messy. And it's like 15 minutes of exposition, which it felt like, while all these wacky things were happening. And I just started losing interest in the movie because I'm just being talked to for 15 minutes in a non-humorous way whatsoever. And then from there, I think the movie lost me, and I just started waiting for the end to happen.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely another difference between this and the original two. In the original two, Chevy Chase wears these disguises and is the wacky character, and everybody else involved in the mystery are generally normal people.
Yeah, pretty straight.
And in this one, since Jon Hamm isn't being wacky, he's just being, Fletch throughout it, then it kind of feels like they gave all the wackiness to the supporting characters.
Yeah.
Interesting. I enjoyed all the other characters. I agree that they're all pretty well. They're not necessarily stereotypes, but they're locked in on whatever their particular quirk is.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed seeing Kyle MacLachlan be obsessed with EDM. It didn't make any sense whatsoever, and that's what made it funny to me. As a guy who has never been to like a modern rave but loves dance music, like, I'll listen to dance music for half the day. I don't go to clubs, don't care about any of that stuff. I just like the music. So I don't know if that's just something that I relate to, but the quirky neighbor, I thought, like, her just whirlwind of chaos was amusing. I agree. Like, if you take each individual part, it's not funny, like her starting a fire in her kitchen and stuff like that. That's not funny, but I don't know. Maybe I was charmed by the movie.
Yeah,
I think that's where probably the difference is I was charmed by it, you weren't. It's not a big deal.
It started off fine. Like first 30 minutes, I was vibing with it. I wasn't blown away, but I was enjoying it. And then it was that quirky neighbor, and that's what turned me, and that's made me start thinking like, oh, they're all just quirky characters, and that's all we're getting here is this person's doing a voice, and this person likes this, and this person's angry all the time, and
I also thought it was strange. If you know original Fletch, then there were certain things that maybe made more sense than like Kyle. Why did he wear an LA hat in this movie?
I'm assuming because this movie took place in Boston, which only one character in the entire movie had like the Boston accent, which is like some beat cop on the radio. Everyone else is normal, whatever they're talking. I assume he's from LA, or maybe he was a writer in LA.
I mean, that's pretty much exactly what it was.
Like, the only people who wear, LA gear out in Boston are people from LA, I assume. No one's like,
sure.
No one's just a casual LA fan born in Boston.
So I guess it worked, but that's definitely like a part of the Fletch uniform. But it's been so long. I'm not sure people who don't have any attachment to original Fletch, or even people that saw it in the 80s and haven't thought about it since, if they watched this movie and saw him in the LA hat, if it was like, I don't know. It's just been so long.
You think that would have played up the whole like West Coaster living on the East Coast thing.
Yeah.
But that was not really, I mean, besides them talking about the Celtics occasionally, it wasn't a big part of the movie at all.
Yeah, so I didn't love that they kind of dropped the idea that he is a reporter, right? Like in this movie, technically he's not a reporter. He's like retired from.
He's a former reporter, and
right.
Was he just like helping people out with investigations? I don't even know what he was doing in this movie.
Right.
Like he was over in Italy, and then he was back, and
he's looking for his girlfriend's art.
Yeah.
So he's investigating something, but not to write a piece on it or something like that. Yeah. It was not strange. I mean, it all makes sense when you add 30 years onto the last version of this that was made. But yeah, it felt like it was missing something. And also it was kind of a breath of fresh air for me because the stakes were so low and the movie's so low key, like just in vibe, and like it's not a joke delivery machine to me. It's more just like let's put these characters in weird situations and let them talk it out. And then you're probably waiting for an action scene, but we're never going to give you one. We're just going to keep it, mystery, not action mystery. And that, I mean, I guess we got that in Knives Out too recently, like a straight mystery movie that doesn't turn into like a big thing. But it feels rare that people will just stick to one genre and not, try to make it an action movie at some point with a big car chase or something like that. But
I would see Jon Hamm do more characters like this. I had nothing against the actual Fletch character. I think it was everything around him which was annoying me.
Even though you were annoyed by this movie, if another Fletch movie starring Jon Hamm came out 2 years from now, would you try it?
Yeah. I'm not gonna write off Jon Hamm's Fletch.
Gotcha.
But I'm gonna write off this movie.
If you enjoyed the fish tank bit, you should watch the original Fletch because it's just one giant fish tank bit.
I agree.
It's just Chevy Chase being just a nutball through the whole thing and like being awkward and stumbling upward, I would say, is what the original Fletch movie was. And you can just skip Fletch Lives. It's not very good.
All right. Well, since I failed at my like everything challenge from you, I will accept the watch Fletch challenge.
All right. Sure. One will change your life. One will just be another movie you watched,
One
but fine.
will tickle me.
All right. Anything else on Confess, Fletch. All right, let's letterbox it. I give it a 3.5.
I gave it a 2.5.
2 stars.
All right. 2, 2.5, and a 3.5 for Confess, Fletch. Let's move on to our next movie on the docket. This one's also on VOD. It's called Bullet Train. Here's a clip.
Thank you for taking the job on such short notice.
I am ready. You are getting the new and improved me. Since I've been working with Barry, I am experiencing a calm like never before. Never. Like I'm less reactive to situations. I'm more accepting of people's shortcomings. I was a little uncertain about coming back to work, but it's like Barry says. You put peace out in the world, you get peace back.
I think you and your therapist might be forgetting what you do for a living, little ladybug.
That was Bullet Train, a 2022 American action comedy thriller directed by David Leitch. Leitch or Leitch? Leitch.
I would assume Leitch, but
I
I
would say
have
like.
not heard it said.
I would assume like.
That's a hard one for me. This movie stars Brad Pitt, Joey King, Aaron Taylor Johnson, Brian Tyree Henry, Andrew Koji, Hiroyuki Sanada, Michael Shannon, Benito A. Martinez Ocasio, and Sandra Bullock, amongst others. The official IMDb plot synopsis for Bullet Train is 5 assassins aboard a swiftly moving bullet train to... This doesn't even make sense. 5 assassins aboard a swiftly moving bullet train to find out that their missions have something in common.
Wow.
Probably drop the 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. This
Let's
IMDb?
Let's read it again without the 2. 5 assassins aboard a swiftly moving bullet train find out that their missions have something in common. That's exactly what it is. That 2 in there does not need to be in there.
Do you need to describe the bullet train as swiftly moving? Isn't that just implied?
I mean, it might have happened on a parked bullet train.
I mean, it's like 5 assassins on a flying airplane.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, you guys want to know a fun fact?
I do.
Please.
I have ridden the bullet train from Tokyo to Kyoto, the same as this movie.
That's more of an anecdote than a fact.
Well, it is a fact.
How was the experience? What was it like riding the bullet train?
It was fast.
Yeah. So did it swiftly move?
It swiftly moved for sure. It was not as action packed as this movie.
Yeah, how many assassins?
Yeah, how many assassins are on yours?
I didn't witness any assassins.
Okay.
But I just
they may have been there.
Like, I didn't realize watching the movie like what the route was, but this is specifically the route that I was on.
So on this one, like some of the cars had different themes. Like it seemed like one was like a kid themed car.
Mm-hmm.
Was that the case on yours? I mean, obviously, I'm sure there's a quiet car and there's different classes, but were there different themes to the cars?
That was not the case. No.
Okay. And then does it really only stop for 1 minute at each station?
Yeah.
Okay, that's true. I had other questions. How fast does it go? Like 200 miles per hour?
No, faster. Very fast. Let me look up the exact, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's in the 400 to 600 miles per hour range.
Do you feel like you could jump onto the back of this train as it was moving, hold on, and punch through a window?
It starts at a stop. So depending on how soon you jump onto it, you could jump onto it. Yes.
Okay.
Right. But at full speed, you probably couldn't just jump
It would be
onto
impossible.
Right.
If you're in a station and one passes you, it's shocking how fast it passes you.
Really?
It's wild. I videotaped it several times because I couldn't get over it.
Did you videotape your reaction to it passing you?
No.
Oh, bummer.
What if it breaks in half and then you jump from one half of it onto the skid of a helicopter?
Yeah. Do you feel like you could survive a crash on this thing?
No. Absolutely not.
Okay.
Have there ever been bullet train crashes? I don't think I've ever heard of that.
I was actually trying to figure out how fast this thing goes, and we're just vamping with questions for time.
Because I'm wondering, like a bullet train,
It can't be that hard to find out how fast a bullet train travels.
It would just
think
obliterate
so.
anything in its path, right? It's not like a normal train. It's going so fast. It would.
I mean, it's got a lot of energy behind it. I don't know. yeah, it would also probably break up and do.
It's just that everything's in kilometers per hour, and I'm avoiding having to do the conversion. But it's about 300 miles per hour.
Okay, 300. Perfect.
That is pretty fast.
Yeah. Okay, I thought it was like closer to 200, so it's even faster than I thought.
How fast? I'm gonna act dumb here. How fast are planes? How fast are those going?
Planes are faster than that.
I mean, they're
right,
not,
but by how much?
They're below the speed of sound.
Okay, so an airliner flies approximately 550 miles per hour.
Okay. So if you were to take a flight from California to Florida, that's like a 5-6 hour flight, right?
Yeah.
So if we had bullet trains from Florida to California, it would be like a day. It would be like a day.
Sure,
you could be in
10
California.
to 12 hours, yeah.
Yep.
We should totally have bullet trains.
Oh, we should for sure have trains, but that's a whole different conversation. Not for a movie podcast.
I guess not.
Trains are nice.
Okay. Back to the movie. That was really fun facts, Zach. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great anecdote.
So this movie, which primarily stars Brad Pitt, I would say he's at least the driving marketing factor of the movie for sure. You find Brad Pitt on a train, playing a guy who is an assassin who has a new perspective on life, I guess. Or at least he's learning how to have a new perspective on life. He's decided that he's not going to kill people, but he might still be a bad guy as far as like doing missions for people, but he doesn't want to kill people. And then he finds himself on a train, and there are other assassins on the train who want to get him and the thing that he possesses.
Yeah, he takes a mission for a simple, like, steal a suitcase.
Mm-hmm.
Steal a suitcase, get off at the next stop. That's all it's supposed to be for him.
Smash and grab.
Right. Yeah. And then it turns into he ends up in a much larger plot than he was expecting.
Yeah, it turns into a movie where Brad Pitt is fighting off assassins for an hour and a half.
Yep.
Yeah.
In a train.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of Bullet Train?
I had a great time with this movie.
Okay.
I was enjoying myself. Yeah. This movie is trying to be like a Tarantino or a Guy Ritchie movie, kind of smashed together.
Mm-hmm.
So it has this Tarantino-ness where you have a lot of different characters all being introduced. They're all given backstories. As this plot slowly develops, they're kind of given each of their little introduction title cards to them. And then you also have kind of this Guy Ritchie banter going on, especially with Brian Tyree Henry and the other assassin he's working with, who put on Cockney accents. And this movie's not as good as a Guy Ritchie or a Tarantino movie would have been 20 years ago, but I think David Leitch was doing his own homage and style towards that, which I enjoyed. I thought the fight scenes were pretty competently done. I mean, this is the guy who's worked on John Wick, those movies, Deadpool. He directed Atomic Blonde, so he definitely has cred in that, in being able to direct fight scenes. I liked Pitt's character. He kind of has this whole bad luck streak going on, and he's a bit hapless through this movie. Like, it's definitely things are happening to him as he finds himself in this larger plot. And I thought that was quite, I was interested by that. The movie, it runs a little long. I'll say that. And it started to lose me a little towards the end as the whole plot comes together and there's these larger focuses on fate and destiny. And Pitt kind of gets pushed to the wayside in the last 15 minutes for the true plot to be resolved. And I thought that was a little much, but I think everything leading up to that point, I was on board with. Train joke.
All right.
Nice.
I enjoyed it too. It's fine. It's definitely like a mishmash of a lot of other things that I generally enjoy, and so it kind of feels like somebody who also likes those things was like, I'm going to make a movie and it's going to be a little bit of everything I like. And that made for something that was a perfectly fun first time watch, but I'm not sure it makes for anything that's going to be super lasting in my brain. And so that's probably the biggest issue with it. But overall, I enjoyed watching it. It reminded me like a lot of movies that came out in the late 90s and early 2000s that were clearly influenced by Guy Ritchie and Quentin Tarantino.
For sure, yeah.
And we haven't had those for maybe a decade because I think people got over it or figured out like they're never going to make those movies. They're never going to be as good as those guys. So people just kind of phased out, I would say. Like those directors phased out of the program. And then we got new directors who had their own visions eventually. And so it kind of felt like a throwback to those movies that are never quite as good as the ones that inspired them, but have enough passable qualities that they're fun to watch once, maybe twice. And that's kind of where I feel Bullet Train lies. But it was still a fun watch. If you're just looking for like a fairly mindless action film with A-list star at the center of it, this is that for sure. Visually, I only have one compliment, is that this movie was like color soaked, I would say.
Yes, it's very bright.
I mean, it was very bright. Whether the Bullet Train is like this or not, they made sure that when they moved from one car to the other, it felt like something had changed. It wasn't just car to car to car. They made an effort in the production design to be like, okay, this is going to be, and we're going to try to make this interesting and exciting, even though it's a sequence of fights on a train. And I liked that. How'd you feel about it, Zach?
Yeah, so I'm torn on this movie. I will say on the face value, these kind of like dark comedies where like death is doled out so lightly, don't usually sit well with me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't find myself naturally enjoying that sensibility where it's like, oh yeah, we accidentally killed a random guy. Like, oh, I'm not sure if we did or not. You know, it's just so casual about like just people just dying left and right, these horrible deaths, you know? Usually that like the casualness of that doesn't sit right with me. And that kind of is pervasive throughout the whole movie, right? These are just all assassins that kill willy-nilly kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I think the movie's actually pretty impressive with its production design. Because like you said, the entire film is on a train, which conventionally shot would get pretty repetitive and boring. And you're like, why don't they just get off the train? And, you know, but it felt very fresh the entire time. I never felt like there were huge plot holes where I'm like, well, why don't you just do this? Why don't you just do that? A lot of movies like this take the attitude where like, well, who cares? Like there can be a bunch of plot holes, but as long as the action keeps going, it doesn't matter. This movie did not take that tact. It said, yeah, we're going to tell a pretty logical story and have a ton of action. So you can sit back and think about what's happening and you'll realize, you know, that's fine. You know, like there's nothing glaring that they should have done differently, you know? So I appreciated that attention. And then it's just, you know, on a shot to shot basis, I was kind of like, well, this director clearly can handle a big production, right? He's shooting an action movie with a lot going on, a ton of famous people in it, right? A pretty complicated plot with a lot of different developed characters. I thought it was an impressive achievement, really. The tone was pretty light. Again, if it wasn't such a serious, you know, like if it wasn't such a dark comedy, I think I would have enjoyed it a ton more because I liked the tone of it. I liked the look of it, the colors of it. I liked the characters. I thought they were interesting. No one has mentioned that it was like a reunion for The Lost City. It had Sandra Bullock, Brad Pitt, and what's his name? Channing Tatum. Yeah.
Yes. That
all in it.
I noticed that when Meg and I were watching it, we pointed it out. Right?
Yeah. And Channing Tatum is reading a romance novel on the train.
I'm pretty sure that Brad Pitt either like filmed his scenes for Lost City while making this, or there's definitely some like you do my movie, I do your movie kind of thing going on between these two.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm torn about the movie. The sensibility, I was kind of like, just felt a little icky while watching it. But otherwise, I thought it was actually a pretty impressive film. So I liked it from that aspect quite a bit.
I think you liked it, Zach. I obviously you have one big con column, but then you have a whole lot of pros.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It's just,
I mean, there was, my understanding, no innocent people were being killed. They were all henchmen or assassins.
Well, there was one guy that got blown up by a car. In a flashback when they're debating if they had killed 15 people or 16 people.
Yes, in the flashbacks there were bystanders being
a child got pushed off a roof.
Yeah, but you gotta, to kick off a plot, you gotta push a child now and then.
So that's the kind of casualness I'm talking about.
That's you're right. Okay.
Yeah.
You've got that point. I see what you're saying there. What did you guys think about the cameos? Because there's probably, we mentioned one already. There's a couple more. I don't want to spoil those.
I don't even remember what they were.
I was
maybe I didn't catch them.
There was a cameo of, remember Brad Pitt was doing this assignment for someone else?
For Carver.
Yeah, for Carver. And then
remember we saw Carver?
They briefly show Carver. I'll just say Carver has a relationship with the director. Or they've worked professionally together before.
Didn't we just say?
No, we haven't said that one. I mean, I could say it, but that would just
don't.
That would, yeah. And
James, you don't remember that one?
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm looking at it on Wikipedia, and I'm putting it together who they were.
Sandra Bullock. The whole time I'm saying to myself, "Who's that voice? I know that voice."
Mm-hmm.
And then you see her, I'm like, "Of course, that's her."
Yeah.
And was there another one? We mentioned Channing Tatum already. Was there another cameo, or was it just Channing Tatum, Sandra Bullock, kind of, and then the other guy?
Well, I mean, it depends on what you consider a cameo, but the White Death, played by Michael Shannon, I thought was really funny.
Oh yeah, when he came in, yes,
yeah. Zazie Beetz was in it too.
She was in it. Yeah, she was good.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't like Zazie Beetz' character.
Was she the Hornet?
Mm-hmm.
She was the Hornet. Sure, her fighting was fine, but her character seemed to be call everyone the B word. That seemed to be like the only thing she did.
She overused it. Oh, Kyle, another thing. You said innocence. What about everyone at the wedding?
So that's what I'm talking about. Like in the flashbacks, there were a lot of, but that was also a drug lord's wedding. Like if you're going to a drug lord's wedding, you're expecting there could be a mass assassination going on.
I'm not expecting that.
Well, how many drug lords' weddings have you been invited to?
I don't know. That's the thing. How would I know? This is like
the conversation in Clerks. Like, if you're a general contractor for the Empire, are you complicit when Death Star 2 blows up?
Yeah.
It
is like that.
Did you guys ever watch the TV show Heroes?
No.
Never mind then.
What other threads can we shut down for you right now, James?
It's fine.
Okay.
The guy who played Hero in the TV show Hero, or Heroes.
Wait, there was one guy that played Hero?
Hiro. He's Asian. His name is Hero in the TV show Heroes.
Were they all named Hero?
That's why
he was the train conductor in Bullet Train.
That type of writing is probably why I did not watch Heroes.
I mean, Heroes was great until it wasn't.
When they announced that one of the characters' name was Hero.
No, I mean, Heroes, like season 1 of Heroes, is all establishing things, like opening up questions, and it was great. It was riveting, addictive TV until it came time to actually pay off some of those things, and then they didn't know what to do.
It's definitely the era of TV where they're like, let's just throw out a bunch of interesting mysteries,
right,
and not worry about the consequences till we get there.
Well,
yeah, so like the end of season 1 literally had a catchphrase people were saying, like "Save the cheerleader, save the world" was like a thing for a little while, and then season 2 came out, and they didn't pay off Save the Cheerleader, Save the World. And I think by the time mid-season of season 2, people were like, okay, you're not really going to give us answers to these things, so we're out. And that was the end of that show. But anyway, evidently the train concession girl gets a link too. Let's see what she was in. She-Ra and the Princess of Power on Netflix.
She must be a voice in that.
Yeah. Oh, she was also in Suicide Squad, the first one. So
Oh.
Okay, but you finally figure out who Carver is, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay, great.
Good. Yeah. Very
Did you
brief.
notice that when you watched the movie?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
good. Brief cameo.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
James, did you see The Gentleman, that Guy Ritchie movie?
Yes.
Did you like that?
It's fine.
I liked that. I thought that was good. I thought it was like Guy Ritchie getting back to his roots
I mean,
20 years ago.
I'll take The Gentleman over whatever those movies with Robert Downey Jr. he was making.
Oh,
Sherlock Holmes.
Sherlock
movies.
Holmes or King Arthur. He did King Arthur or something like that also.
Did he do King Arthur?
James liked that one.
I liked King Arthur, but the Sherlock Holmes movies, I didn't get why they. I know why they made them because they made a ton of money with them.
So much.
But
I'm shocked.
I was not into it. What I don't like is when people that have very distinctive voices job out. I would say, because then I don't get movies with their voice anymore,
Mm-hmm.
and those movies don't feel like Guy Ritchie movies to me. They feel like Hollywood movies that could have been made by anybody.
Yeah.
I liked Brad Pitt's character in this film because I felt like it was consistent, right? Like he stuck with the same bit the whole time, but it was consistently funny. Like I just really enjoyed anytime he opened his mouth.
That scene where they're off the platform trying to trick some people and he's holding the case up and he says like look and he slaps it and like it opens up. Like I thought that one scene made me laugh more than all of Confess Fletch.
Yeah. I don't even remember the scene.
And my son is obsessed with trains.
Uh-huh.
Oh, what do you think of this movie?
He watches Thomas the Tank Engine and plays Thomas the Tank Engine all the time, right? So we probably have 30 Thomas the Tank Engine books in our house. So we know a lot about Thomas the Tank Engine in this house. And one of the characters, their shtick was they're really into Thomas the Tank Engine. And they go into it excessively in the movie.
Yeah.
Like he does a biography about everyone. And I'm sure it's pretty obscure and random and tedious for most people, but I thought it was fun that he's constantly talking about Thomas the Tank Engine because he comes up a lot in my life.
I did think the Thomas Tank Engine bit was a little too quirky. Like we have to give this character what's his thing? You know, he's obsessed with the tank engine, and then he does say like, "Oh, you're a Percy, you're a Diesel, you're a Samantha, you're a Miranda." Like it just felt like
his descriptions were pretty dead on, though.
Oh, I'm sure they were. It just like they went to the Thomas the Tank Engine well a lot throughout that movie.
Yeah.
That being said, I did like Brian Tyree Henry overall in this movie. I like him in everything though. He has not done me wrong yet.
Is there any part of you guys that watches this and thinks it's kind of below Brad Pitt?
No.
I mean, you saw him in Lost City.
But he wasn't the star of Lost City.
No, but he was the best part of Lost City. Like I think he's also at the point now where he can do what he wants.
Oh, he can do whatever he wants,
Yeah.
obviously. But this kind of felt a little bit like slumming it to me.
I think he was having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I'm sure he was, but it still feels like low-hanging fruit for him.
I mean, it could have. This movie made a lot of money.
I'm not saying
So-
anything other than this is the guy who used to like blow it out of the water in 12 Monkeys, which was not a movie that was going to make a lot of money, but was a movie that had more interesting things in it than flashy stuff.
So-
Whereas this movie was very flashy. It's fine.
Yeah,
I'm not making a judgment. It just felt like the kind of movie a guy makes after he's done all the good stuff. You know what I mean? Something that's derivative of the other things.
But I don't think this movie is like what John Cusack or Bruce Willis or those guys like. it doesn't feel like he's phoning it in. It doesn't feel like he's
he's not.
Oh, fine, I'll
phoning it
be in this. Like he's still being Brad Pitt and he's committed to this character in this movie.
I agree with that. It just feels like the type of thing that anybody, like his character specifically, could have played.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
But I will also say he's already been in Tarantino movies and Guy Ritchie movies.
That's what I mean.
He doesn't have anything to prove. Like he could keep doing what he's already done. He just wants to do other, I don't know. He's already done those. So I don't know.
Maybe he's just in his like make money, have fun mode, and that's fine. I'm not making a value judgment.
Right.
It just feels like some of this was a little beneath the station level that I put Brad Pitt on in my head. But maybe that's just me.
I mean, in life, 1 minute you're at one station, the next minute the next. So.
I also don't really think of Brad Pitt as an action movie star. Is that crazy?
So, maybe that's why he wanted to do this.
What other movie can you think of? Is he like punching and kicking other than Snatch Club?
Fight Club.
Yeah, I
Snatch.
guess
he's a boxer in Snatch.
Yeah, but I wouldn't call Snatch an action movie.
No, but you ask what is he punching and kicking?
What about Mr. and Mrs. Smith?
Sure,
yeah.
Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Yeah, yep. But it's been 20 years, more
18.
than that. 18 years?
7, yeah, something like
it's been
that.
A long time since Mr. and Mrs. Smith. He kind of feels more like the guy who shows up in like your weird sci-fi movie or your weird thriller or your weird drama or your weird heist movie type of thing.
So Brad Pitt is not the best fighter in this movie. Like this is not John Wick for Brad Pitt.
That's true.
Like he usually outmatched in all of these fights.
Mm-hmm.
It's just something happens, which is funny because his quirk is he has bad luck, but he seems to win all the fights somewhat through good luck.
Mm-hmm.
So what if there is no good or bad luck? Just we're all agents of fate.
Exactly.
That is a quote from this movie.
We're all on the same train together. But yeah, so I didn't feel like I was watching a Keanu Reeves style movie in that sense.
Mm. Yeah, and I kind of feel like John Wick never gave me that feeling. Like this was below Keanu Reeves. But I also never watched a drama hoping to get a good performance from Keanu Reeves. You know what I mean? Like I never. They're just two different type of actors. So
Keanu Reeves is Keanu Reeves is to fighting movies what Tom Cruise is to action movies.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Like okay, so like Keanu Reeves is you're gonna see a Keanu Reeves movie now for an incredible martial arts performance. That seems like that's kind of what he's doing now. Like he's a dedicated artist in that sense. He's not a bad actor. I don't think he's the world's greatest actor, but I don't think he's a bad actor. But like he's going to commit to a movie. He's going, especially if it's action, he's going to learn everything he needs to make it convincing. Mm-hmm. Kind of like how Tom Cruise handles the Mission Impossible movies. There's that right, they have similar commitment.
But he's not stretching himself dramatically. He's not playing the lawyer in the historical drama. Keanu Reeves isn't.
He's played a lawyer before.
But he's in the mode of his career where that it doesn't seem like that's what he's interested in.
He's moved on from the Oscar. He's not trying to be like the but same for Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise has moved on from the Oscar also.
That's true. For now. I feel like Tom Cruise might make another run.
Does he have an Oscar?
I don't know, but he definitely tried.
Oh, for sure, in like the 90s and even in the 2000s.
The Eyes Wide Shut era,
mm-hmm.
where he was in that. He was in the other one with
Magnolia.
Magnolia. He was in the one with the where he wore a mask through most of the movie with
Vanilla Sky.
Vanilla Sky.
Yeah.
He made a couple where it was definitely a goal to get nominated.
Yep.
But I don't think he ever won.
And then sometime in the mid 2000s, he's like,
He started making Mission Impossible movies. He became a producer, and then he realized, if I put myself in these movies and I produce it, I can make $50 million a movie plus. And so that's the new formula.
Okay, I'm gonna quickly do some pairings, and you have to pick who deserves an Oscar more.
Okay.
These are all actors who have not gotten an Oscar.
Okay.
Okay.
For acting. Okay. Alan Rickman and Ian McKellen.
I would put Ian McKellen over Alan Rickman.
Ian McKellen. All right. Johnny Depp and Robert Downey Jr.
I don't want to.
Are we talking like
Oscar?
I guess I would do RDJ over Depp.
Are we talking strictly screen time or or how much we like the people?
No, who deserves a acting Oscar
like
more?
Now or 20 years ago? I would say overall I would put Downey Jr. over Depp.
The Johnny Depp as a person, I don't want to give 2 cents to. But if you were asking me this 10 years ago, without the knowledge that I currently have, I'd probably pick his performances over Robert Downey Jr.
Okay, Samuel Jackson or Clint Eastwood?
Oh, Jackson.
Yeah, Jackson. Clint Eastwood gets enough.
Okay, William Dafoe or Ralph Fiennes?
Dafoe doesn't have an Oscar?
No.
What?
No.
Not ugly enough.
Edward Norton or Hugh Jackman?
Edward Norton.
Yeah, Edward Norton.
Okay. Ed Norton or William Dafoe?
Do you guys think Hugh Jackman's a good actor?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. Yes.
You think he's a bad actor?
I don't think he's a bad actor. He's perfectly fine.
I think he's better than perfectly fine.
He's
a
never
good actor.
He's never moved me in a movie. Ever.
He's never moved you?
He's thrilled me. But never
that's not a movement?
I'm saying
thrill?
like he's never
Roller coasters are called thrill rides and they move you quite a bit.
Physically, sure, but
you want Hugh Jackman to physically move you.
No, I'm saying like
next time
I've never watched a drama with Hugh Jackman in it where I'm like, well, that was a knockout performance.
What about The Prestige?
Prestige is like, I know people love The Prestige. I don't get it. It's fine, but
you don't get it.
Fine, you don't get.
Do you need me to
I
explain
watched it recently, like within the last 2 years or so, and I it's great. But no, Hugh Jackman does not move me in Prestige.
Swordfish. What about Swordfish? Did that do anything for you?
He's amazing in that movie. The Mountain Dew, the screens. Classic.
Oh yeah, such a hacker.
He's an amazing hacker. Yeah, that's what he should be in.
Let's hope he moves you in Deadpool 3.
That's what I mean.
Oh yeah,
like,
I'm excited for that.
I like Hugh Jackman. Very charismatic, fun to watch on screen. Not an Oscar guy. Can't move me. Eddie Norton though, I'm in. Watch 25th Hour and tell me that guy doesn't deserve an Oscar.
Yeah.
Hugh Jackman is another one of those guys that I think. So I kind of every time I see an actor in Hollywood, I put him into one or two camps. Either like I bet they're really just odd in person, and like I would not enjoy my time with them.
That's the Ed Norton camp.
I think he would be. I don't put him in that camp.
Really? Okay.
I would put Johnny Depp in that camp for sure, or just
Jared Leto.
Jared Leto, absolutely, yeah, for sure. Like people that are like crippling insecurity or like really odd traits or just whatever. Okay. And the other camp is just like people that just seem like they're just probably awesome people that like would be a lot of fun to hang out with. Hugh Jackman is in that camp. Ryan Reynolds would be in that camp.
It seems like one camp is very small.
Which camp is the small one?
The crippling to be around.
No, I think a lot of people would be in those. Not crippling. I mean, not crippling to be around is how I would describe it. Just as people that I think of, like when people joke about how like
the weird artist versus the charismatic Hollywood movie star.
Who's a non-obvious person who's in that camp? Like obviously Jared Leto is an obvious choice for that camp.
Oh, lots of people.
Oh, yeah, I'm curious.
I think George Lucas is probably a little insufferable to be around. Probably.
Well, so again, just to clarify what the camp is, it's people that I think like would not be fun to be friends with. They would just be exhausting and like everything's about them, or they just like celebrity went to their head and they're celebrities first, or like super important people first and regular people second.
What camp do you put Meryl Streep in?
I bet she's fun camp, like just down to earth, nice to be around kind of thing. Yeah, you can ask me about any person. I'll tell you what camp I put them in.
All right, next half hour. I got a game.
What
Guys.
about Zazie Beetz?
Zazie Beetz. I don't know enough about Zazie Beetz.
Okay.
Okay, last one. What about Brad Pitt? What camp do you think he's really in?
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah?
He's probably in the first camp.
Like, not fun to be around?
Yeah, I would say so.
There's a possibility he could be in that camp. I agree.
Whereas like George Clooney, I think, would be in the second camp.
Yeah. Though, everyone probably put Ellen in that second camp until like a year ago.
I would never have put Ellen in that second camp.
Really?
Yeah.
Even like 5 years ago.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
She always weirded me out. She always seemed maybe full of herself to me.
Okay. Interesting.
I didn't watch her enough to have an opinion. But
yeah.
All right.
Have we letterboxed Bullet Train yet?
I don't think we have.
Okay.
I'll give it a 3.
I'll give it a 3.5.
Zach?
I'll give it a 3
and
half.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
All right. So 1 3, 2 3.5 for Bullet Train.
If you have to choose between Bullet Train and Gray Man, which one are you recommending?
Bullet Train.
Bullet
Gray
Train.
Man is so boring.
I liked Gray Man, but I liked Bullet Train more.
For sure. I mean, Gray Man, even like in the visuals, is like the polar opposite of what this movie was. Like, this movie was wild, colorful, bright, enthusiastic. Gray Man was an action movie, so it had, some of those characteristics, but not to the levels that Bullet Train was trying to push it to. Bullet Train's like literally saying, like, we're on a train, we're moving fast, we're moving the story fast, we're moving everything fast. And Gray Man was like, we're gonna do Born, but with, what was it? What's the guy's name from La La Land?
Oh, Ryan Gosling.
Right, Born with Ryan Gosling. Like, okay, fine. Anyway, thank you for listening to this episode 551 of the Cinereelists podcast. We appreciate your listenership. Don't forget, find the video version of the podcast on YouTube. Subscribe there. Follow us on Patreon, patreon.com/Cinereelists. Get a mug or other after show free. I don't know what I'm saying right now. Leave us an Apple Podcast review or send us an email to heyguys@cinereelists.com. We appreciate any of those types of things. If you send us an email, we will discuss it on the podcast on a future episode. Next week, we will be talking God's Country, which is a Western/thriller starring Tandy Newton. So looking forward to that. You could also follow us on social media at Cinereelists on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok. Or you could follow me on my personal Twitter or Letterboxd account at YoJRB.
You follow me on Twitter or Letterboxd at Shaubin.
You can find me on Letterboxd at Peter SKB.
We'll see you guys next week. Until then, keep it Cinereal.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.